Good morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. So I just kind of was really jealous of all these celebrities that get to, do broadcasting from their dining room table, or they get to sit on their couch and do their job. And so I thought, I wanted to touch base with you guys and just, say that I'm praying for you and that we're there for you, and that if you need anything, please give us a call, and we can help. We'll find somebody to help. And I just wanted to kind of bring a little bit of encouragement. I don't know if you remember a while back, there was a movie called The Perfect Storm with George Clooney. And in that movie, what happened was there was this humid air, this tropical air that came from the south, like a hurricane. And there was also some Arctic air that came from the north, and then these two things, they kind of came together in this perfect confluence and created this huge storm. So what one storm system couldn't do alone, now two storm systems were doing together. And it made it a lot worse than it would have been if there was just one storm, the perfect storm. And so the whole movie is them just trying to survive this. And I think we're kind of in a similar boat here today. We're kind of in this perfect storm when we talk about this virus that we're all dealing with today. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that are going into it that make this kind of a very bad type of situation. The first one is that we have this virus going around, and it is very lethal. The second is that it's so easily transmitted. I mean, if you go back and you think about, a disease like Ebola, Ebola was extremely deadly, probably a lot more deadly than this one that we're facing today, but it wasn't passed very easily. So not only do we have a virus that's a lot more deadly than the normal things that we deal with every day, but it is so easily transmitted, and it lives on things, and a lot of people can get it very easily. People can get it even from people who have no symptoms at all, and so these things kind of complicate things. Also, you've got this worldwide travel that we do now. I mean, we can be here and in China by tomorrow. And since people are here and there and everywhere, you can pass it from one side of the globe to the other side of the globe very easily. So it kind of creates this perfect storm, this situation where all these different circumstances are coming together, and you got this confluence that happens, and it causes it to be very discouraging and a little bit scary as well. So what are we supposed to do in a storm? That's the question. When the perfect storm happens, what are we supposed to do? I was thinking about that, and there's actually a chapter in Scripture where, Paul is stuck in a storm. He is headed on his way to Rome in order to face trial, and we're told that it's a northeaster. Here, I got the passage of Scripture here for you. Let me put it up on the screen. And in this particular chapter, the storm comes upon them, and we're told that for 2 weeks they were fighting against this storm, and they were trying to do everything they could to control it. But eventually we see that they had to give up. They had to admit that there is no way in human power that they could control this storm. And so here we come near the end of it. Let me read these two verses to you. Before very long, a wind of hurricane force called the northeaster swept down from the island, and the ship was caught by the storm and could not head into the wind. And so we gave way to it and were driven along. So you can see I bolded those. We gave way to it and we were driven along. And so it's like they were trying to control it, but eventually they realized that in human power they would never be able to control it, and they had to just give up. And I think, we're going to try everything we can, to fight against this virus. Any common sense things that we can do, we're going to follow the advice. Healthcare professionals, that's what we should do. And hopefully we can slow the spread of this virus down so that our hospitals don't get overloaded. But at the end of the day, there's only so much we can do to control a situation like this. There gets a point where there's a tide of it, and we're being swept along with it. So how do we find some sort of stability when life is like that? And the answer is that we need to find that stability in God. God is where that stability is going to be found. There's another passage in the book of Hebrews. And in the book of Hebrews, there's a lot of talk about faith and the nature of faith. And in Hebrews 6, it's no different. We're talking about Abraham and the promises that God made to him. He promised him land. He promised him descendants. He promised him that through him all nations on earth would be blessed. And Abraham believed those promises so strongly that he built his life on them. He ordered his life on the promises of God. He believed so strongly, that God was going to give him descendants through Isaac, that he believed that even if he sacrificed him, that God would raise him from the dead. Now that's faith. It's faith that God is a promise keeper. It's a faith that God does what he says that he will do. And so in chapter 6, we get this verse here. Let me put it up on the screen for you. Hebrews 6:19. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul. What hope? The hope that God is a great promise keeper. We have it as an anchor for the soul, firm and secured, and enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. Okay, so you think about an anchor. You sink it down into the ocean, it gets down into the dirt and the sand at the bottom, and it sticks so that the boat isn't drifting away by the waves or by the wind. And as we kind of face this perfect storm that we're in, how do we face it? Well, we face it, by putting down our anchor in God and in His promises, and knowing that we are not alone, that He is right by our side. And we don't know how bad this is going to get. I know there's a lot of people out there that are scared. I got 2 phone calls just in the past week of people thinking that this was the end times. One of them was pointing to Matthew chapter 24, and it talks about a plague there, and saying, oh, we're in the end times. And another person was saying that this is the 4th horseman of the apocalypse, the pale rider, which is death. Probably the strangest one I got is, let me show you this picture here, about Bill Gates. So in this picture you have this tattoo, this invisible tattoo that Bill Gates suggests that we give to children in the third world. And it goes down into their skin, and you can put on there the vaccines that they've had, because that's been a big problem, is that we go down into the third world and we vaccinate children so that these diseases don't spread, and then we go back again and do the same thing, and we're vaccinating children sometimes 2 and 3 times. And so he says, what these invisible tattoos would give us a record of who's been vaccinated. Well, it was suggested last week that we use these with COVID patients, that once they have made it through the disease, or once we develop a vaccine and they've been vaccinated, we can mark them. That way we know who has had it and who hasn't. And so people have been drawing comparisons to the mark of the beast in Revelation chapter 13, and kind of going a little bit crazy. What if I take the mark of the beast? Am I not going to be saved anymore? I don't think you can accidentally take the mark of the beast. Part of the mark of the beast is beast worship, and the worshiping of Satan in the end times. And so I don't think that God is going to make it something that can accidentally be given to you by Bill Gates. But it just goes to show you that there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of uncertainty about what is going on. But we have an anchor, and that anchor is God. He never promised us that we wouldn't have problems, but He promised us that He would be with us through those problems. So I just want to end on another passage. It comes from Proverbs 10:25. When the storm has swept by, the wicked are gone, but the righteous stand firm forever. And so you got these words, stand firm. You got, the hope of Jesus is an anchor for the soul. And so when we're in the midst of a perfect storm like we are now, and things are beyond our control, we're doing everything we can within our control, but there are things that are beyond it. And it's in those situations that we really need to trust God. So I hope you guys are having a good week. I hope you guys are not going too crazy, kind of being quarantined from everybody. We miss you. We look forward to when all of this is lifted and we can be together once again. And so we're praying for you in the meantime.